Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Inquisitive Finance. I'm your host, Rafael Negron. So, today I want to talk about something just really quick. So, as many of you may know, and this is something I often tend to talk about on this channel, I am a software engineer. I've been in the industry for a little over 8 years now, so I've been doing this for a while, I guess. I started my job right after university, and ever since then, I've loved it. I love what I do, I love the people I work with, and I don't anticipate me wanting to retire early or anything like this, and probably just stay in this job until full retirement age of at least what it is today, 67 years old. But anyway, in the meantime, apart from all that, one of the things that I've been sort of trying to get into is seeing if I can combine my, let's say, new learnings in finance with some of the things that I work on in tech. And especially with the rise of I do believe that now it is easier for anyone to get involved in tech, or really anyone to get involved in any sort of field. So one of the first tools that I worked on a couple of weeks ago was actually a 4% retirement calculator. So not just calculating, let's say if you use this percentage, which is the 4% rule in retirement to ensure that you can, let's say, at least retire for about 30 years. The calculator helps you figure out a little bit of what those numbers look like, not just for when you retire, but also in future dates. So as you see later on when I demo some things, you'll be able to find that tool. But the one I really want to talk about today is what would it look like if you were able to save or cut out certain things from your budget and see in real time what that could amount to. I think we always hear about investing and seeing what ROI we can get, return on investment, and seeing, what would happen if I invested 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what can that look like? But I think for everyday people, especially people that aren't so interested in budgeting, I thought that a tool that would allow you to see this in real time, being able to add things. And when I say add things, let's say you remove something like a Netflix subscription. Maybe that's $15 or $20, and I'm not really sure what the value is today. We'll double check that in a moment. What would happen if you actually took that money and then invested it? What ends up happening a lot of time is that people will save some money, whether it be $30 from a Netflix subscription or maybe a car payment they no longer have to worry about. And instead of investing that money and reinvest it, they just inflate their lifestyle. It's like you're already used to not paying that money, so you might as well just learn to invest it, right? You've already not been having that money for fun or material goods, let's say, so just learn to reinvest it. So we're going to go a little bit through that today, and I think this tool, especially for people that don't like budgeting and for people that are more visual learners, they'll appreciate this tool a lot. So the first thing I want to talk about is, imagine you're just looking at some of your favorite funds, right? So for example, I'm invested right now, I have a pretty strong position in something called the Fidelity 500 Index Fund. So my main brokerage is Fidelity. And a lot of times when you look at these different types of funds, or let's say stocks, for example, Apple, which we'll look at in a moment, let me just make sure I'm zoomed in here so we can all see this the right way. You'll normally come across a section like performance, right? So here we have a list of average annual returns. That kind of came out like a little bit of an accent there, but average annual returns. You can see here we have a year where it's 21.43%, 3 years, 22.66%, 5 years, 17.62%, and 10 years, 14.62%, right? So we have a wide variety of different returns depending on if it's a year, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, et cetera, right? Similarly, if we go to like another website where we have something like VOO, we can similarly see performance here. So we have, even for this one, which is month end, 2.34, 3 month total, 8.22, year to date, 17.49, 1 year, 21.41, so on and so forth. We can all read this. And again, if we pick an individual stock like Apple, for example, I love using a tool like Yahoo Finance. Clicking on each one of these sort of little tickers here, or not tickers, but let's say time slots, will give you a sort of return on investment from today's date until, let's say, 5 days prior, or 1 month prior, 6 months prior, so on and so forth. So you can see from 6 months ago, if you invested, you would have made a 41% return on investment. Year to date, you're looking at 10.18% return on investment. 1 year, 20.03, 5 years, a whopping 139.58%. And more so, if we go online and look up, like, let's see, SPROI, let's see if that's enough to tell us. Let's see SPROI average. Let's see if Google can give us a nice answer here. So it says the average annual return for the S&P 500 is approximately 10%, though this varies depending on the time period analyzed and whether the figure is adjusted for inflation. For example, the average return is about 10.54 since 1957, while a 100-year average is around 10.48, including reinvested dividends. The average inflation-adjusted return is closer to 6.68 to 7.382. Although a lot of people will normally tell you this 10%. Maybe they're just not sort of looking at this inflation-adjusted return, but I think for all intents and purposes, we'll sort of try and use both. And of course, if you expand this, you can see a little better numbers. Like since 1957, it's been 10.54, last 100 years, 10.48, so on and so forth. What I want you to understand is if you look at all these different types of funds, you look at all these different types of stocks, you can see that each one of them have different percent return on investments for different time periods. And now this is, I feel, where something like a tool like the one I'm about to show you will help a lot. So if you all didn't know, I actually have a website that's really just my name, so rafaelnetgrown.me. It's something that I've been working a little bit on the side. To be honest, I only work on it when I feel like there's like a new tool that I want to add, right? So if I see like, oh, there's a new application I want to create, something like this savings calculator I'm going to show you today, or the 4% retirement calculator that I talked about earlier, then I will go ahead and add it to this website. But the one I want to show you today is this one right here. So savings from budget cuts. Okay, it says, see how small cuts in your budget can grow when you invest the savings over time. So this is a very easy way for us to calculate based on what we can save from our budget. What are the things that we can remove? What are the things we really don't have to worry about? I really want you to sit down and come up with an example, right? Maybe if you have a ton of subscriptions, you only want to use one, get rid of a lot of them. Maybe if you only go to the gym, let's say once a month, but you're paying for that membership, you don't really go that often, cancel it. And whatever money you get back, I don't want you to inflate your lifestyle now that you have it. You say, oh, I'm getting $30 extra a month, so now that means I'll be able to go to, I don't know, a movie and a date or something every single month and use that $30 plus more. No, the point is that you keep living the same lifestyle, and with the money that you're getting back, I want you to invest it, and a tool like this will help us see exactly what that return can look like. So I'm going to give you some numbers here of my own, okay? So let's see what today a Netflix subscription costs. So Netflix subscription cost, whatever it tells me in general. So it says $8 to $24.99. Let's pick something like in the middle, I don't know, like $16, let's say, right? Just to make the numbers a little bit easier here. So you can see here, there's no items that are added yet. So I'm going to click on this here. And for this item, I'm going to say this is a Netflix subscription, right? And this cost me, let's say $16 a month. Now you can see the value down here changed, right? I have an input here for the average annual return. So in this case, 8%. Maybe we want to go to that 10% number that we saw on Google. And the time horizon for me, right? Is it 30 years? No, it's going to be 35 years. I'm 32 now, so I'm looking at full retirement age of 67, right? So 35 years from now. If I start from nothing, if I just have $0 today, I'm able to cancel that Netflix subscription, which is $16 a month. I can invest it for 35 years at an average annual return of 10%. You can see here that the potential value, the potential future value ends up being $60,746.21. So it says over 35 years at an average return of 10%, investing $16 per month could grow to this amount. The total contributed is $6,720 and your growth is $54,026.21, which is an incredible amount. And it doesn't just stop there, okay? You can sort of mess around with these numbers. And the best thing is, let's say I want to add another item. So I used to have a car payment, okay? The first car that I have, the first car that I still drive, the car that was really truly mine, is a 2017 Honda Civic. And in the beginning, I leased it. I leased this car and I was paying about $180 a month, which I realized is a good price for some. There's some people that pay a lot more than that. There's probably people that pay a little bit less than that. But I was paying that for a while until finally I did decide to do a lump sum payment to get rid of the entire car, just pay it off. But during that time that I was paying that $180, do you know what I did when I paid it off? I didn't just inflate my lifestyle. I invested that extra $180. So let's go back and look at what that can transform to. So if I have $180 from my car payment, I'm going to make a new line item here, car payment. I'm going to put $180, I said, right? Look at this. Total monthly savings of $196 invested for 35 years at an average annual return of 10% is going to give me $744,000 and $141.06, right? Over 35 years at an average return of 10%. That is a lot of money. And all I'm doing is the money that I'm saving from these budget cuts, I'm just reinvesting. The main lesson that I want you to learn here is when you remove things from your budget, do not inflate your lifestyle to account for that difference. You finally have margin, right? That is what allows for you to invest and get that compounding. If you just continue to increase your expenses and you start inflating your lifestyle, you're just never going to get to a point where you can do meaningful investments. Okay, I'm very excited because in the future, I'm going to be able to get rid of something called a PMI, which is private mortgage insurance. For those of you that have a home, most of the time, if you're buying a home in your 20s, odds are you won't be able to put 20% down, which is the conventional loan. That's ideally what you can put down to not have the PMI. PMI is essentially insurance for the bank, just in case you default on your loan. You're a little bit more of a risky lender, right? I put 3%. 3% down on my house. So I have to pay that PMI. I'm currently paying about $175 a month. So let's go back, okay? How can I remove PMI? Typically, PMI will be removed once you've actually reached 20% equity in your home, or if your home has actually appreciated, you can ask for an appraiser to come to your home. They can actually appraise your home, and if they see that it has actually increased in value, you can call your lender and have that PMI removed if you have attained 20% of equity in your home. So if I go back here, let's say I make a new line item for PMI and I say, hey, that's going to be another $175 a month. Look at this already. Now I'm about $1.4 million, okay, in 35 years at 10%. And this is just from making these budget cuts, right? This is $175 a month that I'm not going to be able to reinvest. That $180 for my car payment that I can reinvest. That $16 Netflix subscription that I'm able to reinvest, right? And you can mess around with these numbers. So let's say on a bad year, let's say that inflation adjusted, right? I'm going to bring this number down to 6%. That's looking more like $528,000. Maybe the time horizon. Let's say I was 40 years old today, right? I'm looking at 27 years. That's going to turn to $299,000. Okay, let's think about someone like Carson, for example, only at 19 years old, right? So what is he looking at? 48 years, right? So if he, let's say, is at 27, so he's looking at 48 years to be able to get to that time horizon that he's looking for full retirement age. I hope I'm getting my math right here. 67 minus 20 is 47, but he's 19, so it's 48. So we're doing 48 years, right? So at a 6%, if he's able to, say, invest something like this, he's looking at 1.2 million. But of course, if you go to that 10% that you normally hear, he's looking at $5.25 million. So what I want you to do, I'm going to leave a link to this tool on the video description. I want you to go ahead, log in. Well, actually, there's no login necessary. I just want you to visit this website, go and mess around with these numbers and tell me if something like this helps you out, okay? It certainly helps me out a lot. It helps me sort of put everything into perspective. I think a lot of us are very visual learners. It's very important that we have a tool like this to be able to see the values. I've seen a lot of calculators that do, like, you input all the same values and you do a one shot, and then you have to go back to the form, modify things, and you have to keep one shotting that enter, and it'll give you the graph and everything. I like this tool because it's more real time. Oh, that's my dachshund right there, the infamous ear flapping, which is a very well-known attribute of a dachshund. But anyway, these visual tools are what helps us decide our budget and ultimately grow that nest egg that we so badly want, okay? And the cool thing on top of this, something I'm not showing, is all this data is saved locally in your browser, okay? So if I step away from this website right here and I come back to the website, you can see I have no tabs open right now. If I come back to the website and I go to the savings from budget cuts, you can see the information is still stored there. So you can come back, you have this little sheet, this little area online with your budget, and you can start seeing how things look. And of course, you can remove things. You can come back to this simple state where everything is right back to a, let's say, initial point of view, which now I'm thinking maybe I should add a reset button just to make the process a little bit easier in case people are coming here and adding like 10 things. Hopefully that's the case. But anyway, all that to say, this is a tool I had so much fun creating. I hope you find value from it because I sure have. Let me know in the comments below if this is something that has motivated you to start saving more, seeing what your future savings can grow to, and let me know if there's any other apps that you're interested in me making. I have a lot of ideas. I love to sort of flex this tech side of me and bring software into my financial learnings and really just have a lot of fun with it. So with all that being said, I hope this video was helpful. I hope you learned a lot, and share it with your friends. Let them know that websites like this exist and make it very easy for them to see how easy you can actually make a lot of money just by reinvesting all these savings cuts that you get from your budget. So with all that being said, have a nice rest of your day, and I will see you all next time for a couple of new videos that I'm going to be making based on RSUs, ESPPs, 401ks, a lot of new things that I've learned about, and hopefully some more interviews in the future. So with all that being said, take care everyone, and I will see you all next time. Later.